German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's recent press conference in Berlin, where he addressed a wide array of international issues, offers a profound and multifaceted insight into Germany's evolving foreign policy doctrine. Welcome viewers to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. His comments, delivered alongside Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, were not mere diplomatic pleasantries but a carefully articulated and comprehensive strategic vision for Germany's role in a fragmented and increasingly competitive world. The Chancellor's statements on U.S. China trade, the controversial U.S. overture towards Greenland, and domestic events in the United States, when analyzed in concert, reveal a nation that is both confident in its foundational principles and judiciously cautious in its actions. This approach demonstrates a deep understanding of the delicate balance required to maintain a nation's prosperity and security in a multipolar world, while simultaneously projecting an image of stability and strategic foresight to its allies and rivals alike. The themes of economic security, the inviolability of international law, and the art of diplomatic restraint served as the core pillars of his address, each one building upon the last to form a coherent and compelling narrative of Germany's new place on the global stage. The strategic imperative: securing economic and technological independence in a volatile world. Merz's express welcome of the U.S. China agreement on rare earths is a particularly telling moment for Germany's economic security strategy. This endorsement is far from a simple reaction to a positive news story. It is a clear reflection of a core national interest that has been at the forefront of German policy for years. Germany, as the global manufacturing and export powerhouse of Europe, is acutely vulnerable to disruptions in global supply chains. The rare earth elements, a critical group of minerals used in everything from advanced electronics to green technologies, are the lifeblood of its high-tech industries, from the automotive sector and renewable energy to advanced machinery and telecommunications. In fact, approximately 65% of the value added in Germany's massive automotive sector is directly dependent on the stable and consistent availability of these elements. China's near monopoly on these critical minerals has long been a source of strategic anxiety for German policymakers, who have watched nervously as escalating trade disputes threaten to cut off access to these indispensable resources. The geopolitical reality is that control over these minerals grants immense leverage, and Germany has no interest in being on the receiving end of that leverage. Merz's palpable relief that a major conflict was resolved underscores how seriously Germany views the risk of economic weaponization. His statement also served as a clear and deliberate signal that Germany is not content to be a mere bystander in the trade disputes of the world's two largest economies. The Chancellor's hope for similar progress in US-EU negotiations is a direct call for a more proactive, cooperative approach to global trade. This reflects a broader, systemic shift in German and European strategic thinking, moving away from a passive, business-as-usual approach to a more assertive strategy aimed at achieving strategic autonomy. By advocating for closer US-EU cooperation, Germany is actively seeking to diversify its economic dependencies and establish a more stable, predictable, and resilient framework for international commerce. This is not about a full-scale decoupling from China, which remains a massive and indispensable trading partner, but about de-risking the relationship by reducing vulnerabilities in critical sectors. This involves promoting domestic rare earth recycling and seeking alternative suppliers to ensure that Germany's industrial future is not held hostage to unpredictable geopolitical tensions and supply chain shocks. The goal is to build a more resilient economic foundation that can withstand future crises without sacrificing global engagement. This pragmatic approach recognizes that while total independence is an illusion, reducing critical dependencies is a national security imperative. Upholding the bedrock of international law and sovereign integrity. The Chancellor's unhesitating and forceful rejection of the U.S. proposal to acquire Greenland is perhaps the most morally resonant and principle-driven part of his address. His invocation of the inviolability of borders is a fundamental principle of post-war international law, a concept that for Germany is not just a legal abstraction but a solemn and sacred promise. The collective memory of territorial aggression and the devastating conflicts of the 20th century makes this principle sacrosanct for European leaders. By declaring that this principle is not subject to negotiation, Merz placed a clear and firm line in the sand, one that no amount of diplomatic or economic pressure could erase. The principle, enshrined in the UN Charter, holds that a state's territory is sacred and cannot be changed by force or undue influence. The reunification of Germany itself was a testament to the peaceful resolution of a historical division, not a forcible change of borders, making the principle especially poignant and personally meaningful for the German state. It shows that Germany's commitment to this principle is not merely theoretical but is rooted in its own historical experience and national identity. This strong and public support for Denmark, a fellow NATO ally and a partner in the European community, serves several critical functions. It not only reinforces the essential bonds of solidarity that are vital for the cohesion of both NATO and the EU but also sends an unmistakable message to the wider international community. That message is that Germany will not tolerate challenges to the established norms of sovereignty and territorial integrity, regardless of who is making them. In a world where some powers are increasingly willing to use force or economic coercion to redraw borders and challenge existing states, Germany's principled stance positions it as a guardian of the rules-based international order. This is a role that has gained new urgency in recent years, and by fulfilling it, Germany reinforces its own security and the stability of its alliances. The public stance reaffirms Germany's moral leadership and its commitment to a global system built on a foundation of law and mutual respect rather than power politics. It is a powerful statement that a nation's principles are not for sale and that its allies can count on its unwavering support when those principles are challenged, regardless of the perceived power of the challenger. The art of diplomatic restraint and prudent non-interference. Chancellor Merz's measured and carefully worded response to the unrest in Los Angeles is a masterful demonstration of diplomatic restraint and sophisticated statecraft. Describing the televised scenes as disturbing, allowed him to express a degree of personal concern without venturing into political judgment or open critique of a sovereign ally. His subsequent statement that he did not want to evaluate or judge U.S. domestic political events from Germany is a crucial part of the diplomatic playbook. This deliberate stance is rooted in the principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of a sovereign nation, a cornerstone of the modern international system. This principle is not a sign of indifference, rather, it is a calculated decision to preserve diplomatic capital. For a country like Germany, which maintains a deep, complex, and vital relationship with the United States, an open critique of U.S. domestic policy could be highly counterproductive. It could be perceived as a condescending or hostile act, potentially damaging the very trust and cooperation that both countries rely on to address global challenges. Merz's careful phrasing shows a sophisticated understanding of these diplomatic boundaries. He demonstrated that a nation can be a strong and reliable partner and a critical voice on shared global issues, like trade and international law, while still respecting the autonomy of its allies to manage their own internal political processes. This balanced approach is essential for maintaining the stability of a vital relationship. It highlights the crucial distinction between a country's external actions, which are fair game for international scrutiny, and its internal struggles, which are its own to navigate. By carefully choosing his words, Merz ensures that the core diplomatic channels between Germany and the U.S. remain open and productive, even when facing sensitive or difficult topics. This nuanced approach is a hallmark of mature diplomacy, recognizing that a long-term partnership is more valuable than a short-term political statement. It is a sign of Germany's transition from a post-war power to a confident and strategic leader on the world stage, capable of navigating the complex web of international relations with both firmness and grace.